much more general than predicate-subject structure. But I argue that even the methods, the super methods of reasoning, you can use maybe 300 super methods of reasoning. Or even the calculus existed before Kant. I don't know. He doesn't consider that as logic. But he mostly used the syllogism of Aristotle. Even the syllogism was modified because Frege created the predicate calculus about 100 years ago, the first order predicate calculus, which allowed multiple quantifiers. And I think Aristotle only had one quantifier in the syllogism. Okay, but maybe Kant made the fallacy of excluding middle EM, since he accepted Aristotle's logic as still the pinnacle of logic, and it is a binary logic really. So that things were either this or that. Now we have multi-valued logic, so that things can be true, half true, or false, and so on. And we have fuzzy logic, that's by Zadeh, so that things need not be crisp, but can be fuzzy in nature, like a car being navy blue, light blue, dark blue, or almost black, and so on. I mean, you can do reasoning, even if you're talking about a car, and it's blue, you want to reason another car that's light blue, you can, after Zadeh, you can still do reasoning, even though they're not exactly identical cars. They're both blue, but not exactly the right. So it is possible to add adjectives to the nouns of verbs used in reasoning, and there are ways of combining propositions which use, e.g., light blue car, and others which are referred to a dark blue car, assuming it is the same kind of car. So that maybe the unconditioned is different in both the major and the minor premise of the syllogism, and thus the syllogisms are invalid in both cases, but not because the pneumonal object must be outside of time completely and the phenomenal object is in time, which is a brilliant solution by Kant. But a better solution is that both the concept of the unconditioned in the major and in the minor premise are in time. The key is that the point is that the choice is not whether time does exist in the world or does not exist in the world, a binary conception of time, but rather time exists in many types of or different senses in the world, and especially in the mind. Did Einstein also make this fallacy when he criticized Kant, or did he just mean that time can be studied? He did even say that time has many conceptions in a sense, since he gave the example of time spent with a nice girl going fast while time on a hot stove going slow. Well, that's degree. So free will is possible for Kant if the object is outside time. I don't think that Kant suggested that all that is necessary is that there be two kinds of concepts of time. Really, it contradicted Aristotle and Maimonides, since for them only things in time could have free will anyway, or undergo any kind of change. It is tempting to say that free will does exist, but then both sides of the antinomy may be true unless add another way of settling this problem. Is not the world and time the same in both sides? Question mark. But really, does Kant make the fallacy also of using overgeneralization, OG, question mark? I mean, the question of the unconditioned being too vast. Maybe there are many types of unconditioned beyond the mind, or even conditioned in the world that exists in the series before reach the unconditioned which is beyond the world, i.e. not simple beyond our mind, not simple beyond our mind. Is that a confusion with the different series of universes beyond our mind as one universe? A fallacy of undergeneralization by Kant, UG. Not simply one world beyond our mind, but maybe he thought he could not distinguish such worlds anyway. So that maybe the side of the argument for determinism is for one kind of unconditioned, such as dead rocks which do not have free will or maybe cannot have free will, and the other side of the argument in the antimony defending free will is for another kind of unconditioned, such as living things, or at least human beings or angels or gods. Indeed, unless the theory of evolution is wrong, though many doctors see it as a proven theory today, and it must be possible for things that are incapable of free choice to acquire the power of free choice if free choice exists today. Since for Charles Darwin we all began as a pile of separate molecules in a pool of water and gradually became organized into the incredible organisms that we are today by a process of natural selections and chance mutations. If our brain has billions or trillions of neurons and glial cells. So Aristotle would say that they must have potentiality in them or matter and thus not be pure forms. So they must be in time. Though Aristotle rejected the idea of chance in the world and accepted that animals are usually suited to their environment, but rejected the idea that one kind of being could change into another kind of being, essence, quiddity, or form. And this is easier to believe now after Blaise Pascal, George Boole, Charles Babbage, Eckhart Markley, Alan Turing, and John von Neumann, and others, since they help prove that useless dead things that did not possess rational thought, what Aristotle, Maimonides, and others saw as uniquely human or even as a godlike quality, and René Descartes argued no machine could ever do, yet we have computers that think. Although we succeed in building computers, obviously it works. We have reasoning beings. In fact, a while ago, a computer from IBM defeated the world champion in chess, Kasparov, which is a milestone. But somehow they thought that that Go, there's a Go, I don't know if I think that's a Japanese game. But I found out that last year, March 2016, a computer program defeated the world champion of Go. This is like it's about a year ago. They're saying this is for artificial intelligence. It's a big breakthrough because Go showed creativity and well, really I think a computer can do anything, even though the basic instructions are just Boolean logic and arithmetic. If you add the right software, a computer can do anything. And they're getting more and more sophisticated. There's one person, I forget his name, says that the biggest threat right now, well, Hawking also I think said it, that the biggest threat we have right now is computers in the world, that they're becoming so smart that we can lose control to them. Well, we're creating a new species of intelligent machines. And a professor at the University of Toronto said that the software is going to be so complicated, it's very hard for us to actually maintain it or predict what it's going to do even. It's dangerous. Okay. Although there is a problem, because I mean, even with chess or Go, chess, most people know what chess is. Go, I think what you have to do is you have to circle your opponent completely in a circle, and then you can remove his pieces, something like that. I didn't play strategy. But the thing is, it's a specific program. If you change the rules of the game just a little bit, the computer will completely fail. It's a special purpose, not really a general reasoning machine. I mean, if you add my list of 2,000 reasoning methods, or implement my 300 super methods of reasoning, that's more general. You can solve many problems, but Go or chess, it's a specific problem in a few specific reasoning strategies. Apparently John von Neumann, I think, came up with the alpha beta strategy for chess. But I heard also when I was before, they used to have, like, you just flip the switches on the computer. Well, I should add also here, besides these guys, I should add those guys that invented the transistor, which led to integrated circuits in Silicon Valley. They got a Nobel Prize for that. I don't know their names. But anyway, before, you just flip switches on the computer. Then they had assembler, and then they had machine code. Well, it was one-to-one translation of instructions for the machine and the human. Then they had 5 to 10 ratio to 1 translation when they had high-level languages. And later I heard that they came up with 4th generation languages, programming languages, where you write instructions. I think it's 30 to 50 instructions that are translated into one machine instruction. So it's more powerful. Because they write, a program usually writes like 5 to 6 tested instructions per day, so whichever language it is. So the more powerful the language, the more work is done. And if I put all my instructions of all the methods and super methods into the computer, it might be able to make it into a much higher level language, like 5th generation, 6th, or whatever. Or maybe for artificial intelligence. Okay. Indeed, some people even believe that computers can think better and faster than people can, and the World Wide Web already contains much more knowledge and thinking methods than any single human mind ever did. Though really the fallacy here is that a supercomputer or network is not really one computer but many computers, and what you should do is compare the network to the whole of humanity, not to just one man. And the computer is faster, but only on certain problems, since its design is different, and people are much faster on other kinds of problems. And all it took to give these ignorant and non-rational objects the ability of thought was to organize their components in meaningful ways. What if the cosmos is organized in a meaningful way also? Then is it a rational entity, or even godlike being? Question mark. But some people say we only know 5% of the universe. Even our galaxy has like 100 billion stars, and all the planets that go with it, and moons. Well, they already discovered about 2,000 exosolar planets. Or could we organize it one day and make it acquire the ability of thought? Also, in computer science, there is now also the field of artificial life, which you could create, not just artificial intelligence. The question is, can you give machines emotions, consciousness, free will? Indeed, free choice may also not be binary, but have degrees of free choice, so that you have less and less constraints, or have use of more and more powerful tools of technology at your disposal. And we saw an explosion in engineering products in the last century alone, just like an explosion of knowledge in physics, psychology, mathematics, and so on. Well, they wanted to close the patent office 100 years ago, but obviously a lot was invented in the 20th century. And well, see Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's Enterprise, and etc., for a very sophisticated technology. Some of it obviously is possible. The problem still remains that the pneumona, or objects beyond experience, beyond the series of appearance, which may not be the pneumona, but beyond another series of causes in time, is not knowable according to Kant. So how could we know if it is free or not? if any of these objects are truly free. I gave Einstein's solution for a posteriori knowledge and my solution, Joseph Bitton, for a priori knowledge. Einstein argued that Kant's conception of a priori time is a mistake, since we can define time using experience or in a posteriori way by using light waves to define time. Light is the medium, which is what is invariant in the coordinate systems of both observers. Light is what we know as the visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Really, it is how we all use, including the physicists, to study the world, since our eyes depend on it. Aristotle said that the eyes are our most important sense organ and is a great source of knowledge about the world. Einstein used the fact that speed is equal to distance divided by time in elementary physics to define time and space. Though it can be expressed using the differential calculus, the relationship is not linear. And the speed of light is known thanks to the work of Maxwell and Hertz and others. So that selecting a unit distance and knowing the speed of light, one can define time unit as the time it takes light wave, which travels at 3 × 10⁸ meters per second, to travel that unit distance. So Einstein created knowledge of the numerical world even though it was beyond our mind, and helped explain a few mysteries, and he made a few predictions based on the theory, which were confirmed later, and thus all this helped confirm his general theory of relativity created about 100 years ago. This is from page 7. And it does help confirm that this world was indeed in time. It is tempting to say that Einstein proved that time in our mind and time in the world are thus different entities, but maybe this is not so, exclamation mark, since